right. Welcome to Live with Bottleneck. My name is Jamie J, and I am the CEO and founder of Bottleneck Virtual Assistants, where we help stop the bottleneck in your business. But that's not why we're here today. We are here today to talk to Jason Bradshaw. And Jason Bradshaw is going to be joining us today. And we're going to be talking about, every crisis is an opportunity to grow. And he's an author who wrote this book that I'm going to be sharing with you called It's All About Sex, that I pretty much just finished reading. To be totally honest, I haven't quite finished everything, but I'm almost there. And it's incredible. It's the essential guide to customer and employee experience. And just so in case you haven't heard of Jason, he created his first business when he was 14 years old, selling telecommunications and computer equipment in the Australian regional city of Toowoomba. And I hope I pronounced that right. But in the lead up to this, he was inspired by books like The Pursuit of Wow by Tom Peters, which opened his eyes to the power of customer and employee experience. He's worked with groups like Volkswagen Group Australia. He sat on the boards of ACON Health Limited and ShowBiz Cares, Equity Fights AIDS. And a cornerstone of Jason's career has been an unwavering commitment to improving the lives of customers and employees. During his time in the telecommunications industry, he implemented ideas for improving customer experience in a number of verticals by over 100%. So he's got a lot going on. Additionally, he's also led transformational programs resulting in tens of millions of dollars in revenue improvement. Without any further ado, please allow me to introduce you to the one and only Jason Bradshaw. How are you, sir?
Hey, Jamie. Thank you for that awesome introduction. It's always quite humbling hearing someone talk about you like that. So thank you for that. I'm well, sir, and yourself.
I'm doing well. I've been really excited about this, because it's not often, and I'll be honest too, a lot of guests come on here that write books, and I don't have the time to read them, or I just haven't, it says something about this book and what it relates to us, because we're very customer centric, very focused on the customer and employee experience. We're really big into culture and leading with kindness and appreciation. And so when that book came along, I had to read it. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about you, and then maybe talk about the book and talk about some other things.
Yeah, well, as we were talking just before we went live, at 14, I for some crazy reason decided to start selling telecommunications and office equipment from my bedroom, literally. I can remember my very first cell phone was it was a bag. It had an antenna, and it was quite the device. But ever since then, some might call it destiny, but ever since then, my entire career has been focused on, of course, growing the business. Whoever I've worked for, no one ever wants to make less money, but doing it in a way that's really focused on the experience that our customers are receiving. And I believe that you can't do that if you don't first look after your team members, because at the end of the day, you're going to ask them to push through in difficult situations, and it's how committed they are and how valued they feel that makes the difference. So I've had the great pleasure in working in telecommunications as a entrepreneur, in telecommunications as in one of our biggest telecommunication companies here in Australia. In fact, I worked for our two leading telcos at one stage. I've pivoted into media, and I worked for the government for a period of time. And gosh, you learn a lot about yourself when you're in government. But in every one of those sectors, it doesn't matter what the sector is, healthcare, whatever I've been in, the one thing that absolutely rings through is that if you care about your people, whether your people be your team or your customers, if you get your culture right, everything else comes. Now, it's not easy to get the culture right. And one of my lifetime passions goals was to write the book. And the book's designed not to be academic. It's designed to be a really easy read, but importantly, or at least what I hope to achieve through it, is that people would actually get out there and start moving towards a better state. No silver bullets, just just start making small improvements today to make a difference, because that will be felt years down the track.
I love that. And you're right. It's not easy by any means of a stretch of the imaginations to have a good culture, what you said. And it's definitely not easy to write a book. I want to talk to you a little bit more about that process as well, and some of the experiences that went into that book, because I understand, as I hold up the book here, it's all about sex, customer and employee experience. A lot of people write books and they forget to add in, or maybe they just don't forget, but you did a really good job of adding in your personal experiences and talking about how you were brought up and your grandparents having the store, and your father was always doing something entrepreneurial, and so maybe it was just in the blood there. But thanks for sharing that. Can you tell us a little bit about the upbringing there?
Yeah, well, my grandmother is 97 years of age at the moment, and she doesn't get around as quickly as she used to. But to this day, she still has that fighting entrepreneurial spirit in her. I can remember as a young kid, you'd go and visit, have a sleepover with grandma. And unfortunately, my grandfather passed away when I was quite young. But have a sleepover with grandma, and but part of the excitement for me was that we'd get to go down to the shop because, of course, the shop was opened 6 days a week, and I'd get to play with the cash register or the phone or stock shelves. It might seem a little bit weird, but I really do think that helped give me that small business exposure. Really helped to give me that burning passion for being a little bit different and looking after people. Grandma and Pop, they, I joked that at one stage they owned half the town, because they owned the takeaway store, the local convenience store, and or fruit store, and then the clothing store. Not all at the same time, but
right.
In a small town, your reputation is everything.
Yeah.
We talk about, I love you pick up Forbes or Harvard Business Review and reputation management. I'm like, the ladies and gentlemen that have been working in small businesses throughout our great nations know reputation management. They live and die by it. Yeah. You don't need to get a division to look after your reputation if you look after your people.
It's so true. I have a question too, and maybe this is kind of timely. If as of the time of this live stream, we're in my opinion, maybe coming on the back end of this pandemic that has gone worldwide, the COVID-19 virus, and it's disrupted so many people's lives and businesses and all of that. I wonder, maybe can you talk to your experience in this and maybe offer some advice as to how we can maintain a good customer experience while going through all this uncertainty?
Yeah. So this isn't the first crisis, so to speak, that I've worked through. I was working for a major retailer. You'll know it, Target. Target Australia is different to the US store in ownership only, really. Everything else looks very similar. But when I was there, I got accused of castrating the men of Australia because we decided to stop selling a game, and we had hundreds of thousands of people contact us in a space of a week. That crisis was a little bit different to this one, but what I think is absolutely true in any crisis is that communication is key, and setting some really strong touch points that people can trust and have certainty. And I think what people look for in a crisis, especially this one, which has impacted so many people, unfortunately, in some really grave ways, but and horrific impacts to families. But what I think people are craving is certainty. And if you can provide certainty in an uncertain world, that is a differentiator. And when I say communicate, I don't mean you have to have all the answers. I just mean you need to keep people informed with what you are doing. What is your next steps? How are you there to serve your customers or your employees? What is it that your organization is doing to come out of this?
Yeah, and I want to drill down on that one part. You don't have to know everything. You just have to keep people in the loop as far as what you're doing, what you're feeling, what's happening. That's huge right there. That's a huge value bomb that you dropped.
I spoke recently at an event, and I said there's two things that you need to do in every crisis. You need to continue to be true to your promise to your customers and your employees. So if you say you're going to deliver, the best of whatever, don't use the crisis as an excuse to stop doing that. You need to continue to deliver on that to the best of your ability, and be open and transparent when you can't and why you can't. And then the second element that I talked about was that communication and transparency. So, if I think about my team that I lead, or the division that I lead today, every week I have an update with the team at exactly the same time, and it goes for as long as it goes for. Now, that update's always on a Tuesday. Yesterday, I had almost nothing to share. No new news. But certainty in an uncertain world means you go ahead, you continue to do it, you're transparent about that there isn't a lot more information to share right now, but you importantly then in that interaction that I'm explaining, I give the team a chance to ask me questions and answers, or ask me questions so I can answer them, because I can't possibly know everything that everyone's thinking about at any one time. I think Apple did a brilliant job in deciding to close their stores. No one can have a greater show of how much they care about protecting their employee well-being, and I'd argue their customer well-being, by just taking the bold step to close all retail stores during the height of the pandemic. Yes, they're a big company, they've got lots of money, but someone would have been looking at a balance sheet going, yeah, is this going to hurt us?
Yikes. Yeah. And so you're talking about maintaining meetings and communications with your own organization, and maybe for others that you talk to, it's really important to maintain the consistency.
Yeah, and also with your customers. So, if you're still open right now during the pandemic, which many businesses are, what are you doing to make it safer for them? Are you, have you increased your cleaning? Have you brought in some social distancing? Now, I'm absolutely amazed by how quickly here in Australia our leading supermarket chains have really responded to the crisis. Like many supermarket chains around the world, checkout after checkout, self-service checkouts crammed in together. And in the space of days, they had social distancing measures put in place. Now when you go down, there's acrylic screens between each of the operators, the checkout operators, and each of the self-serve checkouts, to make it safer for you as a consumer during this pandemic. And they've done a whole pile of other things. At one stage, they had people standing at the front door squirting hand sanitizer, so that everyone cleaned their hands as they came into the store and as they left. It's communicating those things that you're doing often and regularly, those practical things that make a difference. I think is absolutely important during a crisis like this. And what I would say is that it has to matter, not just a generic email saying, "Hey, we hope you're okay. We're still open, by the way." It feels shallow to me. But here are the 5 things that we're doing to continue to be able to serve you in a safe way during this. That's powerful.
Yep. I did start seeing a lot of emails from companies coming out, and it was really neat because I took specific interest in those, because I myself created an email and sent that out to our list and to our clients and to our VAs. And typically we have internal meetings once a week for the internal team here. And over the course of this pandemic, we've had company-wide, like everybody on, I think it was a bi-weekly. So we've had, I think our 4th one's coming up next week, where we get everybody involved, and it gives everybody an opportunity to have a voice, to share some of the challenges they've been experiencing, what they've been doing to kind of get through this. And it's been really, really eye-opening to hear the different stories and what everybody's been going through. And what that does for me, I think, is selfishly, it makes me feel good that we have such a great team, but it also brings everybody together and puts them in as best places they can be to take care of our clients.
Yeah.
And that's our order of decision making, and the order of importance goes by, is it good for the company? Because if the company's not helpful, we can't help out our team, which is the second thing. And then, is it good for our team? If our team isn't happy, how in the heck are they going to take care of our clients, which is the third on the list of importance there?
Yeah. And I think there's something about just creating that continuation of relationship. I was joking that I've been working from the home office for 8 or 9 weeks now, and my meetings haven't reduced. The amount of contact that I'm having with people face to face, absolutely, in person, has absolutely reduced. But I'm on Zoom calls from morning to night, connecting with people, checking in with them, making sure that that communication is clear and transparent, and that those conversations that a lot of people enjoy, those water cooler conversations, or passing someone in a hallway in the workspace, or that "can I grab you for 5 minutes" type conversations. Now that that's not naturally happening, I think as leaders, our job is to create ways for that. So your all town hall conversations that you're doing is a fantastic way to do that, because it's bringing communities together in and creating that certainty again. I keep coming back to it, but anything that we can do to create a sense of normality and certainty that we are still all in this together is phenomenal.
I couldn't agree with you more. And what's kind of neat is, I think I'm still we don't know yet, but I'm still wondering if there is going to be what that new normal is going to be, right? Yeah. So I was talking with a friend the other day. I think the handshakes are gone for a while. Will they come back? Yeah, probably. But boy, it's going to be a while. And for all of the younger people that are going through this experience, and I've been through a similar experience in 2008, lost my company. And I said, okay, I learned some things, and I'm definitely going to go about doing this differently in the future. And thank the Lord we did, because when this pandemic hit, yes, it hurt us, but we were better prepared for that. Well, what I think we're probably going to see is that younger generation that's coming up, that's been exposed to this at a young age, this is their norm now. Yeah. This is kind of what's happening. And it's just going to be, I can't wait for this to get over, but I'm also excited to see what that norm is.
I was just saying yesterday to my team that we've had work from home, remote working options for years, but I think there's been this reluctance to use it because there'll be this perception I'm not working, or perhaps it's not as easy to work from home, or what have you. I think that one of the things that are going to come out of the pandemic is offices are going to completely transform. People are going to be more focused. I said to my team, I'm focused on what you deliver, not whether you're sitting in a desk 5 meters, 6 feet from my office. It's your delivery that I'm paying you for, effectively. That's your value. So focus on that. And if that means you work from home a couple of days a week, go ahead.
I'm curious to know, have you noticed production levels staying the same, going up, or going down from people working remotely?
Look, I think there's a natural curve.
Yeah.
People that haven't worked remotely, when they first get hit with it, there's definitely a decline. They're trying to work out what this new normal is. Then there's this overcorrection where people are like, oh, well, I don't have the hour commute anymore, so I'll just hop online now and start working. And then you get to this sense of new normality, where I actually think people are probably a little bit more productive, but not excessively so. They're not trying to overcorrect for anything, or give us their commute time back or anything like that. But I definitely think people are more productive because they can be in their zone and they don't have distractions. I was saying to someone just recently that one of the best things is I don't have 25 people interrupt me in that hour I set aside to to actually focus on some strategy work or on some piece of work. So there's got to be a balance, because that I think human interaction is really important. And one of the things I talk about in the book, of course, is human connection. So I think working from home doesn't negate or remove that ability to have that human connection. You just got to be more conscious that, oh, hang on, I've spoken to no one today. Perhaps I should give someone a quick call.
I think a lot of it has to do with where we are in our history with regard to technology as well, with the technological advances we have. I mean, you're in Australia, for crying out loud. I'm sitting here in Springfield, Missouri. We're talking on a live stream, like delivering to multiple, social media channels, and it's all in real time. And I just think it's fantastic. So we get to still have a social interaction and keeping our social distancing, right? Or we should say physical distancing with social interaction, right? Should be the term there. But yeah, I just really enjoy the fact that working remotely has done several things for us. Number one, it's forced us to develop systems and processes and workflows. I think that, for me, is one of the biggest things for finding out whether or not you can maintain a good cultural value within your company.
I think also, I'm sure you've seen them too. All those memes around, imagine what you'd be doing on your Nokia 3110 if the pandemic had happened 15 years ago, 10 or 15 years ago. I'm certainly glad we've got the technology that we have, but I think it's also going to change, or has changed, the way we're using it. How prevalent was the use of video calls, for want of a better term, before the pandemic, where now they're the norm. And yes, you get, there's some awkwardness sometimes, but I think that's going to be a growth area now, and people are going to step further away from the traditional phone call. We already know that there's a whole cohort of people out there that prefer text over a call. I think what we'll see is calls will just die, and it will be, send me a Zoom link, do a FaceTime call, or a text, because people love seeing what we're doing. And we've seen, with every meme about your 3110, there's been a meme about mishaps with, of Zoom calls.
There's definitely been some doozies. So what's coming up next for you?
So working on a couple of exciting projects. So working on a new book, which will come out hopefully next year. I haven't quite, even though I'm a published author, which is just bizarre saying that, I haven't quite nailed the factory of churning out a book every year. I've got some online training that's going live in late May, early June. So there are a couple of projects that I'm working on now that are really exciting, and always working on something. I think, going back to the conversation at the very beginning, I can remember sitting in my parents' lounge room, bottling, or putting labels, I should say, on bottles of oil that I was then going to sell at something my father was involved in. And
that was the gun oil, right?
Yeah. So my father used to, as one of his side businesses, used to provide gunsmithing services and sell and trade guns and related products. And so he'd go to a show 2 or 3 times a year. And so I started selling gun oil. And so I'd be sitting in mum and dad's lounge room, literally, putting labels on bottles that I'd filled with oil by hand. Very efficient way of doing things. And so, that's me. I'll be, I often joke that I probably watch every movie 20 times, because I'll put it on and then I'll be like, oh, what about this? And I'll go off and start working on that project. So, for every 20 projects I start, there's probably only 1 or 2 that come to life. But the ones at the moment, some new online training, some exciting announcements coming up there. I'm collaborating with a best-selling author on a couple of projects, or another best-selling author and a couple of projects, and then of course the new book, which is going to be drawing more on my experience over the last 5 years, but also again focused on just being a practical tool to help people move forward.
Perfect. I have one last question, and then we'll do a closing remark to wrap up. But my last question here is, where is somebody in their journey that could utilize your expertise, your services? What is it that you could do for them? And where would they go? How would they find you?
Yeah, so the easiest way to find me is to go to a website, jasonsbradshaw.com. It's really important that you remember the S, jasonsbradshaw.com. Otherwise, you'll end up at a California real estate company. Never met the guy. I'm sure he's a great guy, but unless you want to buy real estate, go jasonsbradshaw.com. On there's a number of ways to connect with me, including the ability to book straight into my calendar. So I do offer coaching services to help people. Your listeners get a 50% discount, of course. But those coaching services that I provide are designed to be practical interventions, not necessarily, let's chat for an hour about how to paint the sky pink or red or whatever. It's about what is your problem today? Here are some things that I've experienced that relate to that problem that have helped me push through that problem. And what are the 2 or 3 things that I would do if I was in your step, and give you some ways to navigate those. And so I've been really blessed. Sometimes I get to speak to a customer once and help them on their journey, and sometimes it's an ongoing relationship. But it is whatever you need it to be, or your listeners need it to be. So jasonsbradshaw.com. In fact, my handle on LinkedIn and all the social channels is Jason S. Bradshaw.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I went ahead and posted some of those links as you were talking. And then before we go today, maybe some advice or something that you have for some parting words as we wrap up today?
So for me, procrastination is the enemy of getting anything done. And if it's not procrastination, it's perfection. So many people want to have the plan completely nailed before they start doing something. No. Have the end goal in sight and start working towards it. The best way to improve the lives of your customers and employees is by starting to take small steps to make a difference today while you figure out whatever your big plan's going to be. But you instinctively know what you need to do.
Well, thanks again. I really appreciate that. And I just am super excited to have had a chance to actually talk with you. And thank you for writing this book. It was really, really, really good. And you're right. You made it very easy to understand. It's not like it's gonna take you a long time. I got it sent to me by Tom Schwab. I don't know, a week ago or so, or not even. And it's just been a very easy read, but very timely and very important. Good reminders for the way that we need to really understand and work with this customer and employee experience, which is really nice.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Jamie, for having me on the show. It means a lot to me. And I failed to mention, but if your listeners go to jasonsbradshaw.com/thank you, that's where they'll be able to get 2 free chapters of my book, and also the 50% discount on my coaching services. So that's just to your listeners, 2 free. The first 2 chapters of the book free, just at jasonsbradshaw.com/thank you, after the .com there, of course. And it's a pleasure to be able to share some of our insights. And Jamie, again, appreciate you having me on.
Thank you so much. Yes, definitely. And so it's jasonsbradshaw.com/thank you. You can go get a discount on his services and read the first 2 chapters of the book. Definitely order his book. It's a fantastic book. It's all about SEX, the essential guide to customer and employee experience, by Jason S. Bradshaw. And again, thank you so much for taking the time to stop by today.
Great. Thanks so much.
Yeah, hold on one quick second. We're going to go ahead and wrap up today. And
no problems.
thank you so much for tuning in to Live with Bottleneck. I've been chatting with Jason S. Bradshaw today and really enjoyed his book here. It's all about sex, the essential guide to customer and employee experience. Really enjoyed that. Make sure to follow us on Facebook. If this is on LinkedIn, let us know. YouTube, Twitter. If you have questions on this and you weren't able to ask a question here, by all means, ask questions away. I'll make sure to get those off to Jason. And remember, go check out his website, jasonsbradshaw.com. And without any further ado, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. And we hope we can help you stop the bottleneck in your business. We'll talk to you again soon.